Hey guys, this is a video about the midpoint formula. So a midpoint is a point that's halfway between two other points, which we call endpoints. Now, because the midpoint is exactly halfway between them, it's the average of those two endpoints. So all the midpoint formula is a fancy way of showing us how to take the average of two different points. So let's take a look. It says we've got the midpoint of a segment AB. So our endpoints are A and B. And notice each of those points has an X and a Y. That's because we're talking about points on a graph. So how do you average when you've got X's and Y's all together? It's easy. You just average the X's and you average the Y's. So let's see here. In case you forgot how to average two numbers, you just add them up and divide by 2. So we have our x1 and x2, those are the x's, add them, divide by 2, and that gives you the x value of the midpoint. Same thing for the y's, y1 and y2, add them and divide by 2, that gives you the y value of the midpoint, put it all together, and you have your answer. So let's see a couple of examples on graphs. So here we have the 2 points A and B. Now we can already kind of eyeball and guess where the midpoint is going to end up. If we connect these two dots, we're looking for a point on that segment that's in the middle. So it's probably going to be like right around here. Now the good news is we have a formula that can help us precisely calculate those coordinates. So again, we want to average the x's and average the y's. So our x values are 1 and 5. So we're going to do 1 plus 5 and then divide by 2. And that's going to equal the x value of the midpoint. So 1 plus 5 is 6 and 6 over 2 equals 3. So our x value of the midpoint is 3. Now let's do the same thing for the y's. We have -4 and 2. So -4 plus 2, divide that by 2, and that equals the y value of our midpoint. -4 plus 2 is -2 over 2. That simplifies to -1. So the y value of our midpoint is -1. Put it together and you have the whole point, 3 comma -1. And that's our answer. So going back to our graph now, again, our midpoint is 3, -1. Let's graph that point and see where it is. We go over 3 and down 1, and there's our point. I'm just going to call it M for midpoint. And as you can see, it's on the line and it's halfway between points A and B. Great. Number 2, same exact process. We have our x values of -2 and 5. We're going to add those together, divide by 2, and that equals the x value of our midpoint. Well, -2 plus 5 is 3. So we have 3 over 2, which simplifies to 1.5. That's okay. You can have decimals, no big deal. Same thing for the y's. We have 4 plus 4, divide by 2, and that'll equal the y value of our midpoint. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 over 2 equals 4. So the y of our midpoint is 4. Put it all together, and our final answer is 1.5, comma 4. Remember, your answer is a point with both an x and a y. And once again, we can go over to our graph and graph it. 1.5 is going to be 1.5 over. So it's going to be between those lines. And then we'll go up 4, and there's our point. I'll call it X this time. Once again, it's between C and D, it's on the line, and it's halfway between the endpoints. One last example here. Sometimes you just don't even have a graph, and that's also totally fine. Same idea. We have 2 points here, which have X's and Y's. So we're going to add up those X values. So 3 plus 7. Then divide by 2, and that'll equal the x value of our midpoint. 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 over 2 is 5. So our x value is 5. Same thing for the y's. 5 plus -9 all over 2. That's the y value of our midpoint. 5 plus -9 is -4. -4 over 2 equals -2. And that's the y of our midpoint. Put it all together, and our final answer is 5, comma -2.